again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
This is Franky Rose's Think Tank. Here's your host, Franky Rose.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Think Tank. It's good to see you. So we have a press conference, and this is regarding the people that carjacked that woman during, what was her name again? Katherine Guerrero, 31-year-old mother of two. And she was found a weapon, that kind of weapon, and unalived inside of her white Dodge Durango. So we do have an update on this, so I thought we should take a look. Heartbreaking, you guys. Okay, so let's take a look.
Good afternoon. So we're going to brief on two separate issues, two separate news conferences, one not related to the other. First, we'll start with an update briefing on the kidnapping, carjacking, murder of Katherine Aguasvivas. I will introduce formally two additional people that are involved in this investigation. And then I'll talk a little bit more about Jordan, who has been identified in the past by me at these news conferences as a strong person of interest. We're changing that and ultimately going to be charging him, but I'll get into those details in just one moment. The first person we'll introduce you to in this case is Kevin Justiano. He goes by the street name Kivo. Kivo came to our attention in the early stages of this investigation after we saw a red Toyota Corolla at the same apartment complex where our green Acura was dropped off. This is the apartment complex where that green Acura was towed away. We saw a red Toyota Corolla, and we used video surveillance at that location to get unique identifiers, the license plate of this car, and then ultimately came back to a relative of Kivo's. Kivo has been on our radar ever since that moment. This photograph is a photograph of him being arrested yesterday by the U.S. Marshals in Puerto Rico on unrelated charges to this case. But the charges, the federal charges that he's being arrested for, is possession of an automatic weapon and drug trafficking. Again, not related to this. He is in custody in Puerto Rico, and he will be extradited back to Central Florida to face charges in the Middle District of Florida federally for this, in addition to this investigation continuing on. Again, red Toyota Corolla that was seen at the location was registered to a relative of his. The red Toyota Corolla was seen picking up the occupants of the green Acura after what appeared to be the occupants cleaning that Acura up, wiping it down, doing other things. One of the images here, you can see clearly the Toyota Corolla. We believe that it was Kivo driving that Toyota Corolla, picking up the occupants of the green Acura at that time. In addition to that, I said we were still waiting for records to come in, and we're still waiting for a majority of the records that we have subpoenaed to come in. But one of the records that have now come in puts Kivo at the scene with Jordan of the kidnapping. So it is likely, more likely than not, and I believe it's Kivo driving the green Acura and Jordan holding the gun at the window, committing the kidnapping. And we'll get in more to that as we go on. Next person is Giovanni Hernandez. And Giovanni, as you know, was wanted out of Seminole County after we conducted a search warrant of his home. But because this case is complicated and there's a lot of moving parts, Giovanni was first introduced into this investigation because he was the last person that our decedent, Katherine, spoke to. We were able to identify that in two ways. One, we received a screenshot that was sent by the victim's brother. Victim's brother's name is Lewis. He sent us a screenshot of Giovanni's photograph and said, this is the last person that she spoke to. We were able to run that photograph through a program run out of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office called FACES. It's a facial recognition program, and it came back 98.6% likely that it was Giovanni with a Castleberry address. We believe our victim was on her way to meet Giovanni in Castleberry because the route that she was traveling from Homestead is a GPS route that's routed in and around the location where he was at. As a reminder, first we got a report from her husband, Miguel, that said that she was coming to Central Florida to visit family members. Additionally, we said that there was no family members that we could locate here. We later identified 2 family members that are in and around the area, but they were not expecting her to come up. Lewis, the brother, then gave a report to detectives that said she was on her way to Seminole County or the Central Florida area to deliver money and other stuff to a friend. We think that friend is Giovanni. So Giovanni was there. He was wanted out of Seminole County because we conducted a search warrant of his home. The search warrant revealed what appears to be a lot of property, likely stolen property, as well as fentanyl and other drugs and a gun. So he is now being held in Seminole County on trafficking fentanyl.
So yeah, this case, it's just gone like a spider web or a crack on the glass. There is so many names coming out right now. There's substances that seem to be involved now. There seems to be thefts that are involved now. So I don't know. They're working their butts off, but this is going somewhere that I think they probably did not expect.
And possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute. That's his local charges here. Talk about Jordan again, Jordanish. So the last time we talked about Jordan, we said that he was, again, in custody on charges being held out of Puerto Rico. We later released the photograph. I identified him as a person of interest. We found that he had a connection to the purchase of the green Acura. We found a Facebook profile that had a number dating back to an Orange County arrest in 2019 with his phone number. We know that he purchased the Acura. He was then seen in his profile picture wearing what appears to be the same exact clothes as the person committing the crime of kidnapping. And now we've been able to put through evidence, through records, that his cell phone was at that location. So he now is going to be charged. Kivo is going to be charged federally with carjacking resulting in death. I've recently had a conversation with the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District, Roger Hamburg. They will be assuming a lot of these cases and the follow-up investigation with our assistance, because I think we now can look at the evidence and conclude that Our victim, Katherine, was killed in Osceola County. That's where the shell casings were at. That's where the car was set on fire. We know that she was the victim of the carjacking here in Seminole County. And then they traveled through Orange County on the journey down there. But that part of the investigation is again ongoing. Again, Jordan Akivo charged with the federal charge of carjacking resulting in death. And these are some of the updates that we have now in the investigation.
Real quick, not to interrupt, I think you misidentified. You called Jordan and Kivo. They're not the same person, right?
Yep. Well, yep, you're right. So Jordan is Jordanish. And if I said that, I'm getting myself confused on some of these things. So let me go Kivo. Yep. Let me go Kivo is again, Kivo is Kevin Justiano. Kivo was the one that was arrested yesterday in Puerto Rico on the federal charges of possession of an automatic weapon and drug trafficking not related to this particular crime. He was wanted. Those are new charges. Those are federal charges. He will be extradited back here to the Middle District of Florida to face those charges federally. He was introduced to us because the red Toyota Corolla that picked up the two occupants of the green Acura moved into that vehicle. That vehicle was registered to a relative of his, and then his phone records put him at the scene of the carjacking.
Wow.
Along with Jordan. Did I clear?
This is hard. Like, this is a spider
Jordan
web.
will be also charged federally with carjacking and then ultimately resulting in a murder or homicide or death. So again, I'll let the U.S. Attorney's Office will be looking at this again tomorrow to determine the most appropriate charges. And there's a lot of evidence that really hasn't even come back on this yet. And again, still relatively early stages of this, but a lot of good police work, taking an incredibly complicated and confusing situation with a lot of moving parts and putting it together.
Yes.
Not that we're aware of. So we think that the driver, likely driver of the green Acura was Kivo, right? There could have been more people in that car. You clearly cannot see how many people are in that car. We know that the occupant that got out of the car holding the gun and committing the act of carjacking was Jordan. And again, as this investigation continues to evolve and we get records back, there may be others in that car. We just simply don't know. But we now have records that put the two at that location at the time, and they will face the federal charges for that. Again, carjacking resulting in death is the charges that they will face federally for that particular situation. Well, listen, this whole thing, I suspect from the beginning, everyone who's watched this has known it's about drugs and money, right? I mean, you look at the history, the background, and again, we'll find out more specific details as this investigation goes. But clearly, there's a drug and money nexus here, right?
Right.
That's probably enough motive for people that are engaged in this type of behavior to kind of stay in business.
So for our purposes, can we refer to Giovanni, Jordanish, Kivo, all the suspects at this point?
Well, I'll say it like before: we think that they did it. We're going to charge them. We don't charge people unless we think that they did it. So, suspect, we're alleging that they're the ones responsible. We would not put charges on them if we did not believe that was the case. So. Correct. I'm not going to speak specifically to the level of involvement because that will continue to evolve, come out. But he is not being charged with the kidnapping. We are only charging the two people that were out there. We think that Giovanni's connection was the last person that our victim spoke to. We think that she was probably on her way to Giovanni's home. But the act of the carjacking, the two that were there is what we're saying Kivo and Jordan, not Giovanni. It's a level of speculation, right? We don't know that for sure. I don't know that. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, she's no longer alive. She can't attest to it. But I think when we see that the last person she spoke to, that the brother said she was delivering money and other stuff to a friend, the path that she was traveling was a path towards their residence. I think that you can only assume that that's probably where, but that's my hunch, right? We don't know that for sure right now. You talking about the first time it was towed from an Orange County? I don't know. I don't know the circumstances. That part of the investigation is in the Orange County Sheriff's Office lane, and although there is a nexus and connection here, they're the most informed authority to speak on that. I don't know the circumstances of when the vehicle was released. Sometimes when vehicles are towed for whatever reason through a tow contract of an apartment complex, they're looking for somebody to come and get it out. And when somebody presents themselves with money and pays it out, they typically release it. And what these folks typically were doing is sending somebody that may or may not be directly connected to offer whatever cost and fee it is to get the car out. But I don't know the answer to that question. So the timeline between the kidnapping and arriving in Orange County is a pretty tight timeline. It's about an hour and 45 minutes or so. And with rush hour traffic, it's not that unrealistic to have that commute take potentially maybe even an hour or so. But we think that the route was direct. Some evidence and records are coming back to kind of prove that. Some of those records have come in. We know that the route that we said, traveling, making the U-turn, getting up to Tuscaloosa Road, traveling south on Tuscaloosa Road, getting on 417 by cutting over traffic, getting on 417 southbound has been confirmed by records. Likely getting off at Narcoossee Road, traveling down to Boggy Creek. How long they were at the location, we don't know at the time because that location was off. So it may, in all intents and purposes, been a direct route there. And then any time delay between the report of guns fired and the flames or smoke from the vehicle was just the time that they were there. So again, that will come out further in the investigation when we get information. We'll go here. I'm not going anywhere, so we got plenty of time. So not that we have access to right now. I will reshape the husband and brother's involvement. I said that they were cooperating at first. Husband is no longer cooperating with us.
No.
And the brother has been crossed up in multiple lies with our detectives. So to shape that they're cooperating would not be accurate. So they are no longer cooperating. The husband is not cooperating at all. And the brother feels like he's cooperating, but he's telling us lies.
Brutal.
So again, that will be a part of the investigation that's ongoing. We'll continue to look at that.
Brutal.
Say it again. Yes. Let's call him a strong suspect. He's the guy with the gun committing the crime. And I think that when we release that photograph with somebody in the Facebook wearing the exact same clothes as the person on the scene, I think that most people that saw that video said, yeah, you don't have to be the sharpest detective to know that it's likely this guy. But now with records putting him back at that location at that time, we're confident it's him. So again, at the scene of the carjacking, right? It's Kivo and Jordan. That's there.
And with Jordanish and Kevin, do we know if they're associates with Giovanni? Sorry.
I thought that everybody would have a little more interest in that, but maybe not, eh?
Look, I think all these folks are connected together, right? But what we can prove will come out in evidence that is going to be released to us, and then probably as we shift now to the federal part of this investigation, the federal authorities will be taking the lead on this with our assistance and participation. But I think this entire group is absolutely connected, and from the activities, probably not the first time that they've been involved in criminal activity and committing crimes.
Understand very well this information. So you say the brother, you're catching the brother lying sometimes. So is a possibility that Giovanni is not the last person that she saw? So in the FaceTime is actually Katherine on the screenshot. I just want to confirm that information.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're pretty confident that that's Giovanni was the last person that she had communication with, because the timeline is pretty tight there. So we think that he's truthful about that. But even when he sent us the initial screenshot, we're talking about Lewis, the brother. When he sent us the screenshot, he screenshotted it and edited it to the point where his photograph was out of it and sent that to us. It was the forensic examination of his cell phone that he gave to
Wow.
us where we had the opportunity to look at the original image with his photograph in there. So, but he's lying to us. You know, we've been able to cross him up in multiple lies. He's helping initially to a certain extent, but he's telling us a whole lot of lies that we have to kind of go through. He could be a lot more cooperative.
That screenshot is Luis and Giovanni, no Katherine and Giovanni.
Correct. Correct.
And as far as other players kind of involved in this, I forgot the gentleman's name, but the Orange County deputy, is there any update as to how he kind of plays in, ties in?
So again, nothing new on the Orange County deputy. We're continuing to work that side of it. Obviously, we want his records on his work computer, access to the database like the David system, where he find those unique characteristics about our detective. We want to know what his phone records look like, communicating back and forth. So again, we have not received those records back, but nothing new with the Orange County deputy or that part of this investigation. Okay, so again, sorry for any confusion. I think I've clarified kind of where we're at with this, but again, this is a lot of moving parts to this, and thank you all for getting the word out there. The second part of our news conference here, and absolutely not related to what we just briefed on at all, is the conclusion of a 6-month investigation into a drug operation here in Sade.
So I just stop this. And let's take a peek at what's going on right here for a minute. Oh, that's our next stream. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. We'll just leave that alone. I pushed the wrong button. So it does look like that's what we have right now. Yeah, absolutely. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Full moons, summer, Christmas. It's just like, oh, la, slow down. It has been. It really has been. I mean, I've just been going. Every time I look, I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So, yeah, I bumped up the next one, and that is about the cop who, well, I guess retired, or ex-cop is how they say it. So he unalived his wife, ex-wife, and his girlfriend and has run off with the 1-year-old boy. So we're going to look at that next here within an hour or so. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit that bell so you know when I go live. So yeah, no cops involved in this one at this point, but it does look like that possibly the husband and her brother might know more than what they're saying. I don't know, maybe it was a setup of sorts. Sad. It's a spider web that just keeps on growing. Just one big knot of messed up people. So guys, thank you very much for being here with me. I really do appreciate you. And I'll see you really, really soon in the next one. Bye.